One more time for good measure. All right, welcome to Beavercreek Rotary. I'm your host today. Believe it or not, I am still a member. Yeah, I'm your host today, Steven. Brandon is, of course, in another country or world. I can't keep track of him, but I think he's there. Safe travels to him. I'd like to thank our greeters, Brian Lampton and Karen. Hi, who's Karen Feinberg? Sure. Karen Lampton. All right. Thanks for bringing your daughter, Brian. Appreciate it. Cool. Eric Marcus for being our ticket master, as well as our secretary, I believe. Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Zwick for our great programs. And of course, Jenny Gundel for our website. I'd like to invite Denny Jarvie up here to do the invocation.
Would you please join me in prayer? Lord of the universe, as we enjoy our fellowship, help us to remember how fortunate we are able to serve our brothers and sisters around the world through this great organization, Rotary, and this astounding foundation. That we're prosperous, enable us to give our material wealth, that we are free, enable us to work together on projects, that we're generous, enable us to work together to achieve the amazing successes. As we are dedicated, bring us together as a club leaders and workers so that we may continue with these efforts. Guide us in our service, keep us well in our service so that we can bless other people around the world who are touched by our words so that they too can have the joy of a fulfilling life, full of good health and companionship in the surroundings that are beneficial to all. Amen.
Thank you very much. I do want to, we'll bring it back to Brian and Karen here. Can we get another round of applause for them? So if you guys don't know, they just got married. It was a birthday party last week, but they got married. Welcome, Karen. You are now a Rotary spouse, so we expect you to go to every event we have. So just be prepared for that.
It already does.
Secretary reports.
I'll get by yourself.
I can actually make one.
Oh,
We have 28 Beavercreek Rotarians attending for 56%. And we have 4 guests, including our speaker. We have a visiting Rotarian from Oakwood, Joe Scott.
how are you doing, Joe? Welcome.
We have, I guess, is it still Karen Pfeiffer or is it now Karen Lampton?
It's Karen Lampton.
Now we have, I guess, Karen Lampton. I have read the attendance wrong since I was not informed until after I put attendance that she was married now. And we have another guest, and I can't find them.
Right here.
Oh, Ryan Lynching. Ryan Lynching. You're not guessing.
Hi, Brian. Hey, Brian. Beth.
Deb. Yeah, I'll check her in. This is Deborah Gross. She's a good friend. She's been around a long time. I don't know if
I
you,
think she's really old.
I didn't say that.
Smart.
I need more change. She ran Dayton Defense for many years, and most of you know that. She's tight with the defense community, and she has her own business now. She's been in Beavercreek since 71.
Yes,
71, long time.
fair moment with that.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Welcome to Beavercreek
We're
Rotary.
gonna meet her when they change.
Perfect.
I'm tired.
All right.
You just put her on your bill.
Is that all you got, Secretary? We're good?
I don't, people keep walking in the door. I don't know.
Hey, as long as they pay, right?
I put her on, put her on browse and go.
I like it.
Yeah, just like it now.
All right. Sergeant at Arms, Don. Adams. Oh, chill out, guys. Chill out.
That's those workers.
I think so. I hope so. I got a couple of jokes, but I don't.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we might be better what I've got.
I might be.
Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. Today is June 23rd, It's the 174th day of the year. It's hard to believe that it's almost halfway through 2023. It's also International Rosé Day, and that's the wine, not the flower.
Wow.
You know, it's Let It Go Day, National Eat at a Food Truck Day, National Pecan Sandies Day, National Pink Day. I see the table over here decided to wear some pink. Flamingo Day, Public Service Day, and I'm sorry Branda's not here because it's Runner's Selfie Day. We also celebrate Fish Are Friends, Not Food Week, National Camping Week, National Roller Coaster Week, and Watermelon Seed Spitting Week. It's amazing what they put on there to celebrate. On this day in history, the first U.S. balloon flight was taken by a 13-year-old boy named Edward Bourne in 1784. And in 1868, the first patent for Scholl's Glidden typewriter, first commercially successful of its kind. And in 1938, the Civil Aeronautics Authority was established in the U.S. In 1939, the U.S. Coast Guard Congress established U.S. Coast Guard Reserve, renamed from the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary in 1941. By 1949, the first 12 women graduated from Harvard Medical School. In 1961, U.S. Air Force Major Robert M. White took the X-15 to an altitude of 32,830 meters, which is 20.4 miles or 107,712 feet. Wow, it's a long way up there. In 1967, Jim Ryan set the mile record at 3.511. I think it's been broken since, but. And news in our club, birthdays, June 20th is Brian Jarvis. I don't see him here. Member anniversaries, pre-tap, 4 years. Nathaniel Heister, 4 years. And a couple of wedding anniversaries, Ron Fulkerth and Lyrics, 4 years. And Jonathan Hebrink and his wife Heather didn't say how many years. So I'm searching for something to talk about today. So I thought, well, let me just go with some things that make you go, Why do I park in driveways and drive on parkways? Do LinkedIn employees take coffee breaks? Can I yell movie in a crowded firehouse? Can you be a closet claustrophobic? How do a fool and his money get together in the first place? And why does Hawaii have interstate highways? How is it that a building burns up as it burns down? If a train station is where the train stops, what's a workstation? If nothing ever sticks to Teflon, how do they make Teflon stick to the pan? What hair color do they put on the driver's license of a bald man?
Self-report.
What was the best thing before sliced bread? I'm going to question this, and why do they put Braille on the drive-through bank machines? And what are preparation A through preparation G? How come there aren't any V batteries? The do not walk on the grass signs get there. Before they invented drawing boards, what did they go back to? If the whole world is a stage, where does the audience sit?
Where's the audience?
If Lou is blind, why is lingerie so popular? If the number two pencil, excuse me, number two pencil is so popular, why is it still number two? All right, that's enough of those. A speeding driver was pulled over by a policeman. He asked the policeman, "Why was I pulled over when I wasn't the only one speeding?" The policeman replied, "Have you ever been fishing?" And the man said, "Yes, I have." He said, "Well, have you ever caught all the fish?" Ronald was towing his boat home from a fishing trip in Jamaica Bay when his car broke down. He didn't have a cell phone with him, but he thought he might be able to reach someone on his marine radio to call for roadside assistance. He climbed into his boat, clicked on the radio and said, "Mayday, Mayday." Coast Guard officer came on and said, "State your location." I-95, 2 miles south of Cranston. After a very long pause, the officer asked, "How fast were you going to reach shore?" Well, Einstein was a genius, but his brother Frank was a monster. You gotta think about him. Oh. Guy sat next to me on a train, pulled out a photo of his wife and said, "She's beautiful, isn't she?" I said, "If you think she's beautiful, you should see my girlfriend." He said, "Why? Is she a stunner?" "No, she's an optician." There were two old friends that crossed paths after not seeing each other for almost a decade. One asked the other, "What are you doing this day?" "I have a PhD." "Wow, you're a doctor?" "No, pizza home delivery." There was a police officer in a small town stopped a motorist for speeding down Main Street. But officer, the man said, "I can explain." "Just be quiet," snapped the officer, "or I'm going to let you cool off in jail until the chief gets back." "But officer, I just wanted to say," "I said, keep quiet. Now you're going to jail." A few hours later, the officer checked up on his prisoner and said, "Lucky for you, the chief is at his daughter's wedding. He'll be in a great mood when he gets back here. Don't count on it. I'm the groom." There was a politician that was a guest speaker at a Rotary golf club. As the politician stood up to speak, a few of the men saw it as an opportunity to sneak off to the bar. An hour later, with the politician still talking, another man joined him. "Is he still talking?" "Yes," the other man said. "What on earth is he talking about?" "I don't know. He's still introducing himself." And it's always likely to leave with a couple of positive jokes or positive quotes. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is now. We need to accept that we won't always make the right decisions, that we'll screw up royally sometimes. Understanding that failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of success. Fitness finds, if you own a typewriter, that's $1. If you've ever flown in a hot air balloon, that's $1. If you've eaten off a food truck, that's $1. If you watermelon had a contest to see how far you could spit the seeds, that's $1. And if you're not wearing your rotary gun, that's $1. So. Thank you, Steve.
Big time. Thank you very much. Glad you had the material today, not me. All right, happy class. Who is happy? Eric.
First, happy bucket, Senator Hackett's here, and I can ask him to help take care of the weeds in Indian Lake.
That'll be $1, sir. Rick?
Couple dollars. First, that Bob Hackett's here, my good friend, and to thank him for all the good he does. And no one knows how much good he does as much as I. I worked with him on many, many good bills, and I know Brian's getting the benefit of Bob's oversight and mentoring as well. Thank you, Bob. And I'm looking forward to your introduction. Not so fine joke. I got $1 for the road dedication to Gene Fisher. That's next Friday, 2 o'clock. The Greene County Career Center will have plenty of room, even if you don't send your RSVP in. It's a big place. we'll do a little ceremony in there. Governor DeWine's supposed to kick it off. And then we'll do I want to say drive around, that just doesn't sound right, but a drive around to, in kind of like a convoy, to see the unveiling of the signs on 35 between 68 and 42. And I have one more, but go to someone else and maybe I'll think of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna be happy 5. Aaron and I tied the knot Saturday. Sorry, we couldn't invite everybody. It was a very, very small party ceremony due to my limited budget. Speaking of budgets, Rick, I hope to God we voted and get it done before Friday. If I'm not there, we're in session voting the budget out.
We'll note that for sure.
Yeah, or it'll just continue till, who knows? And then secondly, very proud to have introduced a resolution, a House resolution yesterday or Tuesday, to ask the federal government, Department of Defense, to locate permanently the Air Force Space Command at Wright Pat.
Nice. That'd be great.
I know what I want. Well, go ahead and please.
No,
It's my second time.
it's cool. I take
I'll forget.
Hi guys, happy bucks. I already put them in the pot. My 15-year-old has qualified for gymnastics nationals for the last 3 years. It's actually close enough this year. We're going to take her to compete in it. So there'll be some future Olympians in there, I'm sure. Second happy buck is we are expecting our 7th child. And this is my second week in a row.
Wow.
They know it's lost that for a road trip.
Wow. Huge congrats. I was trying to do the math, 7. I thought you already had 10. So you didn't have 10, right?
Not yet.
So now that you have another child coming, that means you're gonna rerun to be president of Rotary, right? Maybe, I like it. Dave Cusack said that once.
Okay, got no.
Good.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we, at our county commissioner meeting, we, had a special event to, thank and say farewell to John Finley. Most of you guys know John. He has been everywhere. The guy's amazing. He and his wife Ann has been, they've been together for 58 years, 58, 68, a long time. But he was on just about every committee, did a lot in Xenia specifically, but for the whole county. And if you don't know him, you miss somebody that really was a servant leader. And he's getting a little ill now, and it's about time. But if you do see him, make sure, or I don't think he's on Facebook. If you see him, make sure and tell him thanks and congratulations as he retires. And his wife Ann is, I called her Annie, and there was a reason why. John and Annie Glenn. I got the fortune of meeting them when I was in a house. I brought my aides, and he was ill. He couldn't see. She had to have a cushion because she had problems down there. And they were the most gracious, the most kind people you would ever meet. And that's kind of how, and very accomplished, of course. That's how I see these guys. They're the same type of people. So wishing well.
That's great. Thank you. Anyone else? I have a happy buck. It's not in my pocket, but I've obviously been missing out on Rotary for a while, so I miss you guys. I hope the feeling's mutual, but I am blessed that my dog is still here today. He just turned 10 2 months ago, and it seems like the day he turned 10, he's just been falling apart, unfortunately. So we've gone through a lot with him, so that's why I've been absent from Rotary, but again, blessed that I have another day with him, and can't really ask much more than that in life in general. So yeah, so I hope you guys miss me, and the whole point of the story there. Not really. All right, let's make some money. All right, so this isn't Beavercreek Bowling Alley money, but the winning ticket is 2751.
700,000.
What?
2751, last four.
I have 2751.
There you go, sir. You got the cards?
Yes.
What do you got to pick again? What card does he need to pick?
Same thing as the,
Winners. Ah, okay. Winners.
same results, not the same amount.
As a reminder, half the proceeds go to our annual Christmas basket. Yes. It's Rotary time. Half our proceeds go to our annual Christmas basket, so perfect. Any announcements? Jim?
Our next Flags for Heroes event will be Independence Day at Beavercreek High School. We'll be installing flags at 4 o'clock next Thursday, the 29th. And then we will be removing them the following Thursday at 4 o'clock also. And then our celebration will be, our ceremony will be the 4th of July at 5 o'clock. If you want to be there, Coach Beth is our keynote speaker.
Oh, love that. How'd you nail such a good speaker?
He just wants to make us.
Love it. Perfect. Anyone else? All right. Beaver Creek Golf Outing, guys, it's coming up. July 21st, Friday, noon. We have Rotary at noon. So if you're not here, we will definitely be taking account of that. But the weather's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be fun. We have a lot of our gold sponsors, and I think Mike and as well as Lundy for assisting us this year. Myself and mostly Joe Jenkins have been working to get this together, and we appreciate you guys helping us out as well. So really excited. Again, July 21st. If you've not signed up yet, please sign up. We look forward to having it. So anything else? Perfect. All right. Not that our special speaker needs an introduction, but we will give him one. So Mike only does it for a select few. So Mike's like.
And I promise it won't take half your meeting time. Bob doesn't need a lot of introduction. I'm delved into some history, because you know what he's doing currently, and they're fighting the House and Senate budget right now, and then you expect that by in next week. All right. I was going to announce where your district is, but it seems kind of up in the air. Clark, Clinton, and Greene counties for sure. Bob grew up in London and attended London High School. He captained an undefeated football team. And he was all league and all state honors, which led to his recent induction into the London High School Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations. He went on to Columbia University. So not only is he an athlete, he's a smart guy. He received his BA in economics. He earned all Ivy League honors in football, and most importantly, was awarded top scholar of the football team. He is the founder of Central Ohio Financial Management Group, and that goes back 26 years. He was a Madison County Commissioner, and then he moved on to the Senate, and he's done all kinds of great stuff. Bob is a member of St. Patrick's Parish in London, and most importantly to him are his wife of more than 25 years, Sue, their son, Seth, daughter-in-law, Lauren, and granddaughter, Presley. Bob, come talk to us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the introduction. I'm glad you made it short. Yeah, today I'm going to talk about issue 1, but before I do, I know people want to know, what's happened in the State House. So we are finishing the budget. The Senate, it starts in the governor's. Governor gives his budget to the House. House takes a couple months, and then the House does the budget, and then we finish it with our budget. And so when you look at we passed it out last Thursday, and I tell people there were 650 differences between our budget and the House budget. So it's going to, they did not concur or confer on the budget, but he did get 22 Republicans to vote for our budget. So he needed 50. The Democrats rarely vote for a Republican budget. So it is what it is. And the only thing I say about our budget was probably the most Republican budget. When you look at it, it had, we doubled the tax cut. We cut more regulations. We spent a little less money, which is what the Republicans try to do. I mean, the only thing I say is that we've worked really hard, Rick and Brian, about lowering taxes. And we have ever since I've been in the legislature, both in the House and the Senate. And we've cut regulations. My biggest fear in the next couple of years, and Ohio can't blow it, is, will we have the workforce to fill all these jobs? A lot of companies that are coming into Ohio will say, well, we'll just move our employees to Ohio. And then I want to say, where are they going to live? So we are down in housing starts. Actually, Greene County has probably done as good a job as anybody. But Madison and Clark and Clinton and a lot of the counties are behind on housing starts under that scenario. So we're working hard to improve the housing starts. I'm chair of the insurance. I'm on 5 committees, but I'm chair of the insurance committee. We basically have 2 budgets that leadership has asked me to hold up. And actually, Brian did a great job of passing the workers' comp budget, the industrial commission budget from the House. And Brian, it is a budget. It's not, I don't know if there's any policy in there at all. And we have already gone through our talking about it and having opponents and proponents of the budget. And we're ready to pass it out unanimously in the House. So, but the leadership is and the Senate, the leadership has asked us to hold up to pass it out next week. So hopefully we'll get it passed out next week. We've got actually 3 bills pending in my committee. One is an unemployment bill, and it'll be held off because we got to really vet it. They want to change the weeks from 26 weeks to 12 to 20, depending on the inflation on the unemployment rate. If it's low, then it'd be closer to 12 weeks than 20. The bill sponsors, because of some of the union objections and some of the big objections in there, they're going to come back and they're going to change it to a 20-week. But certain of the unions, like the construction unions, which actually vote a lot of times with the Republicans, they have their time off because of the weather, and they're worried that 20 weeks won't be enough under that scenario. So we're going to have a lot more testimony this fall, and hopefully we'll get a bill out. We have a non-covered dental bill, and it's been around for a while. 43 states have outlawed it. It basically says that if an insurance plan like Delta Dental doesn't cover something in any of its plans, it doesn't mean if you have a Cadillac plan versus a plan that has a high deductible, etc. No, if they cover it under any circumstances, then you have to adhere to what Delta Dental says in their network. But this is non-covered items. This is things that Delta Dental will never cover, but to be in their network and the rest of the insurance companies be in their network, you have to agree to a huge discount. The discount's 18% right now. And we're not real crazy about that. And 43 states have outlawed it. So we're working hard. Brian will tell you, he's working hard in the House and hard in the Senate. We got the president of the Senate behind the bill. And so we should be, I think we've got a good chance at passing the bill as we can. Final bill is an asbestos bill. And it's basically what happens to a lot of the companies, and I hope it doesn't happen to your company, but let's say you have a company and asbestos, there's been a lot of suits, like some companies have gone out of business. So the issue on asbestos, there's already federal laws in place of what should be paid, et cetera. But what happens is every time there's a lawsuit, Beth will tell you, that you'll have, we call it overnaming. Companies will get named in the suit, even though they have nothing to do with the suit. They have nothing. They've never had an asbestos product. And the other side knows that. But they're so used to naming the companies. And then it costs them monies to get, for the judges to get rid of them, to get them out of the lawsuit. So we're trying to get a bill passed that basically says you can't overname. We don't want to hurt people getting. And for example, some of the veterans are a little upset with the bill, and we tell, hey, every place that you serve knows what company was in there, what was asbestos product, and it's already there. It's already public record. So, we just don't want companies that get named every time and they've never had anything to do with asbestos. Okay. The last thing to say is I've got a year and a half left, and he is right. A couple of us don't represent where we live. So I do live in Madison, and when you think about that, I've always represented Madison, but what they did, we had a Chief Justice who was a Republican, but she voted with the Democrats a good part of the time. So we were trying to get more Democratic districts. So they took a couple of us that are term limited and said, look, we're going to move you out of your district because we want to make your district a little more Democratic on that scenario, or make the district where you live, make that a more Democratic district, et cetera. So I don't think it made any difference. She still rejected any maps we gave her, et cetera. But anyway, she's gone. We have a Republican control of the Supreme Court. So in July, we're going to redistrict again. Not everything, but just, and they're talking more about the big cities. I've gone to Clinton and Madison and said to the central committees, let them know what you want. Do you want to go back? Do you want to stay? We'll support whatever you want, but what do you want us to do? So that's what they're going to do. But I want to thank everybody. Everybody's been so supportive through the years. Actually, Rick, it's been 14 and a half years, counting state rep and state senators. Then he had 8 years as commissioner. So that's 22 and a half years when I thought I'd be there for a few years. Okay, today I'm going to talk about issue one. Issue one, and we've got a thing that basically says we're trying to protect our Constitution. Issue one, when we talk about it, we tell people that a lot of people don't realize, but like there's 50 states, 32 of the 50 states don't allow a referendum to change their Constitution. And of the remaining 18, 9 have more than 50 plus 1 vote. So we're only part of 9 states that allows it 50 and 1. So what this issue 1 does, to vote yes on, is that to change the Constitution, we want 60% vote on there. Now, people think that, hey, not many, it'll stop things from going. If you look at the last, I think 20 some issues, 2/3 of them would have passed above 60%. So it really it does stop a few. And what it does stop, there's a lot of out-of-state money that comes in, billions of dollars that comes in, et cetera. So, and a lot of people, think it's an abortion issue because of that referendum that's coming in November, but it's also, an issue of minimum wage. It's also an issue of, in our Constitution, you'll have, it's crazy some of the things that are in there. The actual name the casinos that exist. Why would you name the casinos? Meaning to get their name out of there, they almost have to have a referendum to get them out of there. And the address of the casino is in there. That's crazy. And we did a scenario. There's a couple agriculture things that really make no sense. That's what we do. Rick and Brian will tell you, we do laws. Just have it done as a law. And if people don't like it, they can vote the law out on that. But the other thing I tell people is the American Constitution takes 3/4 vote to get rid of that. There's 5,000 words in the American Constitution. Now ours has grown to over 30,000 words. And so that's all we're trying to do. We just want to protect the Constitution. We want to make sure things go where they belong. So if it shouldn't be a change of the Constitution most of the time. It should just be a new law. It should go back to their reps, and if they can't get it passed, maybe it's not a good idea. But they can bring a lot of out-of-state money in on a lot of different issues. A couple things. There's a huge coalition of support. I'm just going to read off some of the things that have endorsed issue 1. The Hyatt Chamber, the Hotel and Lodging Association, the NFIB, the Restaurant Association, ABC of Ohio, that's a big union group, Ohio Republican Party, Ohio Right to Life, the Farm Bureau, the Republican National Lawyers Association, the Ohio Port Association, the Buckeye Fire Alarms Association, all the statewide offices from DeWine to Husted to Robert Sprague, Frank LaRose, Keith Faber, everybody. And you wait, the Attorney General, because he's got a rule on it and has to do some things, he's making his mind up, but he will, you wait and see, he will do that. The other thing we want to tell some people that, there was a time the media was really for this. For example, if you go back and look at the Columbus Constitution, they had a big editorial that says, hey, you should make it easy to change the Constitution. And so the Democrats and the liberal medias at times in the past has been for this, when you look at that. The last legislation that was introduced in 2018 to do this was introduced by a Democrat. So it is what it is. And so that's that's why I tell people, and it's not, and as I said, it's not just on, that's the other thing. Everybody thinks it's just on abortion. The only thing that worries me about abortion when that referendum comes, there are two things. One is parents' rights, that things could happen without the parents knowing about it. And Beth will tell you, I mean, most everything, you talk to superintendents, almost everything they talk with the parents to make a decision. So why would they not make a decision on a sex change or something like that and let the parents know under that scenario? And so when you look at that, I mean, that's one of the reasons why, when you look at why issue 1 is so strong. I have a thing, and I'm going to have somebody pass them out. I've got some things that they're protection that gives, if you'll do that, then actually give some of the reasons and some of the handout for issue 1, et cetera. But that's the issue is there's a lot of different issues in addition to abortion that could come up under that scenario. The business community, when you look at who supports us, the Hyatt Chamber, the NFIB, et cetera, the business community is behind us 100%. We just don't want to make it so easy to change our constitution. I know a couple ex-governors, and both of them are good friends. I mean, Bob Taft and I are really good friends, and I helped get something back in the budget for his benefit. And when you talk to them, I'll say, why would you be against that? Because 4 governors have tried before to get something a little different than this on that scenario, but they tried with Senate Bill 1, which was similar but a little different than this. And so I said to Bob Taft, I said, why would you be that? And he just says, hey, I just think, the people should have a right and it should just be a majority of the people. And I said, but you got to realize that in August, we'll be lucky to get 15% of the vote out. And if you do 50% plus 1, you're not even coming close to, letting the people, the citizens of Ohio make a decision on it. And that's a lot of times what they do. So I'll be here afterward. I know we'll go into questions and different things. We've got a couple Democrats in the scenario on that probably will have an issue on it. But just to tell you, sir, the Democrats were big time supporting this. And
You don't know my question yet.
okay, what's your question?
Why the big rush to do it in August? Why can't you do it in November when many more people vote instead of the 15% you just said will show up and 7?
So, and I agree with you 1,000%. If you look, I voted for it, and when it came out. So how many senators? There's 26 Republican senators. All 26 voted for it. We as a Senate, we wanted to get it on the May ballot. We agree 100%. He'll tell you, he should tell you, we actually voted against not having August elections, primaries, because we didn't think enough people were showing up to do that. But the problem is if we wait to November, that it wouldn't go into effect until next year.
So
So
amendment such that you can only
so I'll
make it 60%.
So I'll explain it,
November.
I'm a Catholic, I'm against abortions, and you haven't seen me leading actually having the bills, but read the referendum that's coming out in there. It says the health of the mother. We have made so much strides in mental health and another thing. I have a brother that's an OBGYN, he laughs at the referendum. And he is actually for the referendum. He's very liberal on that. He's being the doctor that he is. And he says, you will increase your abortions 5 times if you pass that referendum this fall. Because women will come out. They'll say, well, why are you getting in between a doctor and a patient? The woman will just say, I have mental health issues. I mean, all I want to say to them is, someone will come to me and say, why are you messing with abortion? And I'll give them a blank piece of paper and I'll say, well, right on here, when you think abortion should be allowed. And they'll look at me and they'll say, well, I don't think you should ever get between a doctor and their patient. And I just said, well, do you think it's 8 months? Do you think it's 6 months? Do you think it's first trimester? When should they not be allowed? And then I'll say, isn't there 2 lives? They don't get into the fights of when life started. I mean, you have so many fights on that under that scenario, and we've lowered a little to when life starts, et cetera. So I don't know when life starts, but I know when there is life, and everybody will agree, even the opposition of when there's lives. So there comes a time where there's two lives. I will fight to the end that we should protect the mother's life. But to protect the mother's health, it makes it convenient for her to avoid that. So, sir, the only reason I agree with you 1,000%, we just couldn't get it through the House because the House was so dysfunctional at the time. They had 2 Republican caucuses and they could not get the votes. If one voted one way, the other side would vote the other way. And so we needed that. And so it just took us a little longer to convince the House to vote for this. So that's the only reason why, because I agree with you. I'm not real crazy about having a primary in August. I voted against it the one time, but I sure don't want that referendum. And you are completely wrong when say that referendum won't do tremendous damage. It do tremendous damage. And not only will you increase abortions by so much, you also take authority away from the parents.
I didn't say anything about the referendum in November. I only asked about the one in August.
Yeah, but the referendum in November is going, you know it.
Well, you just told me that the referendum in August isn't to prevent the one in November from being passed. You just told us that.
No, I didn't. I said it's one of many reasons. I didn't say, of course it is. Of course it is. I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Hey, listen, thank you for letting me talk on that. I know issue 1's a tough issue, etc. But you know, all we want to do is say, push it to laws, have them do it in law and not change our constitution with a vote like that. Yes, sir.
I do have, with how long, with your experience of being in, politician, has it changed much as far as, I know there's always a little bit of head butting and, I think that's politics in general, but has it changed a lot? Is it harder to work with, the opposition versus?
And in the Senate, I have great friends in the Senate, they're Democrat, they work with us. The Senate is 26 Republicans and 7 Democrats.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they work really, I've gone legislation with the minority leader like 3 times. She and I are really good. One time you laugh that on the floor of the Senate, she gets up and praises me on the Senate. And you can hear my voice over to the Senate saying, "You're killing me. I don't need that. You're killing me." And that's what, and I just said it for tongue in cheek, but yeah. So I think what's happened, a lot of us see that is that we have a lot of good Republican senators that are pro-business, that aren't radical right. And I worry about we lose them, including myself and Matt Dolan and a lot of people. Stephanie, from Hilliard, she does a great job. And so we don't want to lose those people. And if they get replaced by the far right, I agree a lot of things on the far right, but the far right wants to talk about abortion and guns. And I'm just saying, hey, I believe in the Second Amendment, but are a lot of other issues. And I want to make sure we increase jobs in Ohio. We've done a tremendous job of lowering taxes and getting more and more companies to move to Ohio. So now we've got to make sure we've got a workforce system that we can find the employees, to fill those jobs. And then can we find a place where people can live if they move in from other states, et cetera. So that's why, but it's a good question. And you're right, I do worry that we're getting extremes get elected. You're seeing that more in the House, not as much in the Senate. Any other question? Yes, sir.
Who do you see taking over as president of the Senate?
Probably Rob McCauley.
Okay.
Yeah, Rob, we have one really far right person who's a lady. She's good. And we're friends. We don't agree a lot of the times. Rob comes from a very conservative area in Northwest Ohio, but he's an attorney. He's a good guy. Yeah. And Matt Huffman is a libertarian, our president now, but I call him a common sense libertarian. And for the people in the audience, libertarians don't like a lot of regulations. They're very free market people, et cetera. So they don't like too many laws and too many restrictions. But Matt's really common sense. And I think Rob will fall in that thing. I think he'll be very pro-business on that scenario and on that situation. Sometimes I worry that they'll work on extreme issues versus, important, I think a little more important issues, but I agree. I mean, I think one of the reasons why Greene County, that I get along with them so well, is the far right, even though they control the central committee in Greene County, they don't really get people elected. And a lot of the business community and the chamber and the business groups, they support us strongly because they know we're for creating the best environment to get jobs and less regulations. That's what we're trying. Any other questions? Hey, thanks, everybody. I really appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. I really appreciate it. Love having you
Hey,
come
Steve.
every year. So,
Steve, since you got time, I want to say one more
oh
thing,
yeah, go ahead.
if I could.
Yeah.
You know, when most people get short-itis in the military anywhere else, you see less and less of them, and they're looking at their next part of their life. I will tell you this, Bob, whether you agree with him or not, he's always there. He hasn't skipped one chamber, he hasn't skipped one Rotary. He goes to all the school boards, he takes his beating where he has to. That guy goes all out. And it's good to see somebody that is that committed throughout his 4, 8 years, whatever it takes. Well, we appreciate that, sir.
Thanks, Tim.
Absolutely. I was gonna wait to hound you after the meeting, but since we're gonna go ahead and do it. No, okay. No, really appreciate all you do. Obviously, you're serving the community and abroad, so really appreciate it. And of course, making time to come today. So thank you. Anything else for the good of the club? Actually, this is gonna be nice. As you know, we always dedicate a book. I think this was randomly picked.
I think it's
This has nothing to do with today's meeting. So I think we found this. So he's already written it, but obviously this will go to the Greene County Library. Anything else for the good of the club?
That's good for.
I agree with you.
Oh, I have something. Everybody, please bring your cell phone to Rotary next week. There's a new app that I'm gonna demonstrate.
That's great.
So bring your phone, and if you, in between, if you wanna put this in your head, go to your favorite place to get apps and download an app called Ignite. And it will give you our directory and everything you need to be able to pay your dues, do a whole bunch of other club stuff on this new app that we're gonna have next week. It costs $3 a member, but because I am the club's district communications officer, we get it for free.
Oh, nice. Nice. Thank you. Well done. But even more importantly, because you can't sign up for the golf outing with this app that he's going to introduce us. Again, golf outing July 21st. If you haven't signed up, come grab me and I will take your money cash. So perfect. All right. We'll close the club out. This stand for the pledge. I'm gonna go ahead and lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Gentlemen, have a great week. Good. Our children and sisters are in the lives. Sorry, we're halfway up the week. Come on, praise God. That's the rest of the. Oh, yeah. We need more money because it's right there. They got things. All those.